There you go. It's done. Hey Fearless Mods fans, here we are with another episode on the 240 SX. Getting ready to leave the Fearless Mods garage in Ohio and reestablish in Illinois. So there's a couple things we got to get done before we get out of here. Primarily get this car where it can survive on its own. We've got the Eagle Talon hood over there as a donor so that we can use the blister off of the top of it and put it over the turbo here and graft it to this hood. The other project is going to be, we've got to replace the downpipe. That awesome downpipe that we did that Nate helped us weld up, we get to weld up another one of our own here because Riley sandwiched that thing, smushed it. He had an issue that the anti-lag blasted the muffler off, and so he was pulling it off from the cap back, and when he did, that flex pipe allowed the long extension of our exhaust pipe to hang down like this. And when he backed out the driveway, he hit a lip at the end of the driveway and just freaking accordioned the whole thing. So he hasn't been able to drive it because it's had nothing behind the turbo. Not that you haven't driven it like that before. So anyway, downpipe and hood. This episode is hood, so we're gonna go get started on that right now. So here's what we're doing. We're gonna put the blister off the top of that Eagle Talon hood that allows us to accommodate the turbo. The plan is to put that over this so that we can keep all the water from getting in here and elements and the wannabe turbo stealers. We did a pretty good job of cutting this form to fit. Really, when you look at it, the only thing that has bent is right here. That's of course from the engine hopping up when he gets on the throttle, but that's the only curl we've had right there. This will get cut out a lot bigger before we put the blister in, just so that it fits on there and gives it all the room it needs. But for what we had that cut out for, that worked out pretty good and looked pretty rad. It's a whole road warrior styling. The key for this is going to be to get the right cutoff wheel so that we can cut through all this. 3-inch cutoff wheel discs, money.
The cutoff wheel will cut.
It will kill. Alright, first I'm going to see kind of how big of a piece I think I can take out of that to put into here, and then that will determine how much I want to cut out of this. I marked kind of the center line down the hump, drew a straight line down it. Next thing I'm going to do is I know kind of how wide I go out here where it starts to flatten out. So I'm going to get this measurement and then create a square as much as I can that's that size. I may not end up with it being square, but that'll allow me to cut the largest shape out of here possible and then put it on, once I have it cut out, I can put it on the green hood. Alright, so I've got the square marked out here. It's about 21 inches wide by however long it is. And there's a little bit of contour right here in the hood. But I want to overlap that a little just so I make sure I get where it starts to flatten out. I might have to come off this edge just a little bit. But I've got the cutoff tool. I'm set to 80 psi on the compressor. And I've got this set to max airflow. So let's go ahead and get to cutting. Wish you could have seen that when I held that up to flip it over and see if I was going to have to cut the skeleton behind there. This just fell off on the top of the hoods. I took out the little rubber pieces that were in there, and roughly something like that. At the back of the hood, it has this ridge line right here. Probably cut that out right along it and just cut along that same line because we got a mold line right here in this hood. Next thing I'll do is just go ahead and get me a good true line down the center of where this turbo should be, and just like I did on the hump here with the blue line, and get that lined up. It's not far off from where it is right here. It needs a bit of a skeleton under there, and this skeleton does have the curvature to it. So I would like to see if there's a possibility to graft any of this skeleton underneath here with his hood, so that it doesn't end up so flimsy. Right, so I got this thing lined up a little bit, kind of where the main hump of the turbo is, coming down over the top, and I'm allowing it a little bit of room to be able to hop up when he and come left. So I've kind of got the center stripe where I want it. Now I'm going to work on getting it straight. Ideally, based on where it's at, I would probably just cut this out and lay it in. The only contour I really have is just a little bit of a dip here, but getting it to match this contour perfectly on this flimsy hood is going to be a bit of a challenge. What I'm thinking I'll do is probably try to decide if any parts of this skeleton will be applicable to this once I get this cut out. I'm going to go ahead and lay the tarp underneath here so I'm not spraying metal grindings all over this. See how this looks here. That's essentially what we're looking at right there. Give this a little bit of a curve down here, and I got to cut this out. That's some freaking thick gauge metal on the Eagle Talon. I think it's thicker than what you had on your Nissan.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Wait, Eagle was Chrysler, right? Merc.
With the 4-cylinder fat turbo.
Now that we've got both of these cut, what I'm going to do is go ahead and remove the inner skeleton from the hood, a little bit larger than the cutout, so that I can start to see where it would go on here, and if there's possibility to kind of graft it into that to give the hood some structure. So got the skeleton cut out, and now we'll go ahead and remove the hood, get it on here so that we have a good flat surface with it underside facing up, so that we can start looking at where we need to cut to try to bring the two in one piece. Because there are a couple nicks on this thing, and I had them cut out the same size, I can kind of tell where this needs to line up. There's a couple slices in here that I can line up with the vertical lines here and the horizontal here to get a good idea of where it would need to go, and then develop my game plan here for where I want to cut and combine the two. Starting to get the two to come together here just a little bit. First, I trimmed off some of the pieces of the hood here so that the curvature of the red piece can kind of droop down into there. And I'll definitely trim off this little piece on the front, maybe a little bit right here, and just kind of keep working it down in there until I get it to a good point where I feel like I'm flush enough on enough points where I can tack this all on. It's not going to be pretty, and it's not going to be smooth and seamless, but it's going to give it, it's going to be connected all the way across, and that's what's going to give it the rigidity to help strengthen it.
Look at the grinder and then pull up your nigga.
Okay, so guys, I'm going to take a pause for tonight because while I was cutting the red piece, trimming along there, I hooked my thumb here with the grinding wheel, and then yanked my hand back in a hurry to get away from it and hooked my pinky somewhere on this cleaver. And so I've got a couple of band-aids going right now. I'm going to call it quits for tonight. Let those sit here and throb on me and come back and continue that a little bit later. But not today. I've got spoils of war here that I've got to clean up. Not a sponsor, but look at all these. I'm bandaged up. Time to continue making this go into that. So now that I'm able to set it down in there a little bit better and get it down into the curvature, I'm able to look at where some of these cut marks came through from the original cut here. So like here, a little bit here, and kind of line them up, because remember, these are the exact same size and orientation. This right here is a really good cut line that I've drawn on and I have used to try to be able to see from under here up to here to see how that one has, how it lines up. And then you also got this good cut line right here. Line them up with the actual cut line of the hood underneath. I've got it setting down in here pretty good where I got some spots I can put some tacks in here to give it the strength to hold. So definitely a lot of them along here. In the corner here, I'll have to throw some little pieces of metal on here to kind of help that stretch across. I'll be able to tack this corner and all the way along here up to this point. That'll give it a lot of strength there, front and back. A little zip here. And then these little things here I've got where I can tie them into the center structure. My plan now is to go ahead and kind of flat disc some of these sharp edges, get them ready, cleaned up for welding. Okay, it's time to flip it over and take a look at it and see what we ended up with. It looks like there's probably a couple spots in here I can get in here and do a little bit of welding on this back side in here, just to kind of make it even stronger. But yeah, the hood's got its rigidity back, so that's good. We'll want to, whenever it's done, get in there and inject some goop underneath there just to cushion it. But I am ready to throw the bubble on and see how it fits. So we just pulled the hood around, slapped it up here, and we're just going to see if the turbo cooperates with the skeletal structure.
It's pretty strong.
It's going to hit. Yeah,
It's touching.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of interference. All right, so we got that going for us. Progress, but not. Okay, doke. Back to the drawing board. Okay, it's another cold day out here, and so just got a couple hours here that I want to get some work done before I hit the road. This is, as you saw, not quite, it's hitting right here on top of the turbo, the structure is, and it's also got a little bit of the way that that's tack welded in there has a little bit of a warp to the hood. So what I'm going to do is two things. I'm going to cut out around here so that I can allow this to set down more flush over the turbo, and then I am going to have to grind the tacks that I put on there, let it tweak and set on here appropriately, and then re-tack it and weld it. Sometimes work and rework to get it right is necessary, and this is clearly a one-off custom job, so I'm going to get right to it. Alright, so this is just tapping right here, so my plan I will cut down in here and leave these flat surfaces here, because that's essentially just flat sheet metal, so it'll retain a little bit. It's going to be able to flex through this area a lot more because it'll just be essentially flat pieces of strip, but at least they'll still be connected together for shear. I'll clean these up so they're not so sharp, but that allows me a little room for this to not only sit under there, hopefully with this latch now. Let's see. That might even have taken care of some of the tweaking. So there it is, latched. It looks good on this side. I might just put the fender up there and see. I might not have to do that. That doesn't feel like it's tweaked too bad at all. You can see now I can get that underneath there. Now it is still going to be an issue because this thing raises up quite a bit when he floors it. It's going to pop up and hit that hood, unfortunately. The bubble clearance is going to give the clearance for it when it sits here statically, which is an improvement, but it's still going to raise up quite a bit. And the only thing I can think of is solid motor mount would be the only way to be able to counteract that. I think this though is good. It's only got like maybe an eighth of an inch to hit that bumper, and this side doesn't even have a bumper. If I raise it just by putting a bumper under there, it tweaks that side down where it should be. So I think we're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and clean up these edges here with the flap disc and then get on straightening, getting the shape of our top piece that goes over this. So let's fit it in there and then start to look at where we got to get a little bit of a bend here and anything we might have to do to curvature. That's much better, but again we got a really low spot right there. What I like about that is it kind of helps if I push that down, tack that, and then make everything else pull up, it'll help a little bit. But these corners dipping down is something I think I definitely want to address. I want to flare this up just slightly. I come across these with the flap wheel, so I have some bare metal. Edges are good. One thing I want to do is right here. This hood comes across with a ridge right here, very slight, that turns right here, also very slight. And I just want to, right there, give this a little bit of a angle down. That lines up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start tacking and lining this up flush as I go. Okay, getting just a little bit of pringling in right here, so I want to try to contain that as best as I can. Good down here, seem to be good. Pretty much everywhere else, I'm just getting right here. It's more than I'd like to see. Might have to take some of these off too. Let's see if we can take care of this. Bring it all the way up like that. Let's try that. We're going to try to walk it all the way up. Cut that one. Try it again. It's in there. Now we just got to keep tacking until it's closed. All right, I need a break from this. I'm gonna grind for a little while. Whew. Jeez. Grind this down and call it good for now. All right, that's gonna be a wrap for right now. I need to get another flap disc because that one's got no cutting power left to it. So I'll go around and clean all that up and get the height out of those welds so that I can see where I still need to go in there and stitch. So I've got a lot of stitching done. There's a little bit of warpage in the hood in a couple areas that we'll have to deal with. Right here and right here primarily. And then of course smoothing through here to get this transition right after I've ground it down and smoothed it out. When we come back to it, it'll be more grinding, more welding, get all that done. Then we can start doing a little bit of the body, Bondo and body filler to get it to smooth out and look good. But I think I think we're close. So you can see how where I cut that out, that allows the turbo to set up in there almost within a 1/4 inch of the sheet metal, because that rests right there on it pretty much. So looks like it's a pretty good fit. Just gotta keep getting it stitched in and cleaned up and 240 Talon. All right guys, that's gonna be it for this episode. When we come back to it, we'll go ahead and continue grinding it, like I said, and get to where we get the Bondo and some of the finished body work on it there and get a coat of primer on that thing, and then that's where we'll call it good. One thing we're gonna do for the height of that is definitely gonna go to a lowering motor mount so that we can get some increase the distance between that turbo and the hood, and that should take care of everything we need there. And then it's gonna be time to finish the downpipe and get this thing out of my garage so I can get the Fearless Mods garage located out here to Illinois. So thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. We love having you on Fearless Mods, and we'll catch you again real soon. Take care.